Just finishing the live thing. Okay, done almost. Yeah. Okay, good. Then we will go back to this and then stop share. Okay, I think we are here and hello, good evening, and a warm welcome to firstly Smita. Thank you so much for joining us and agreeing to speak to our members in the next level community. Um, and also, warm welcome to all the women enthusiastic, aspiring entrepreneurs who are joining us now. Okay. So let me quickly give you a brief as to how we'll go about. Let me first. I think a quick introduction of us you would have read on the um, uh, note that I sent you guys, but maybe I'll give a little more and then ask her some questions, and then I will leave you to ask her a lot more questions that you would like to know from her. Okay. So ideally, friends, put your questions. Yeah, we can all wish her hi, hello, good evening, and agreeing to talk to her and welcome her on the chat, and then questions we will take it in the end. Okay. So Smita, we are all good to go, and once again, welcome. So Smita, being we meeting here on the. Okay, let me first quickly finish the intro. Smita's journey. I know from 1992. Happy and proud that a classmate of mine from Hotel Management College, uh, possibly today is amongst all of us the most educated, I would say, and her experience has been varied in terms of star hotels to big corporations to universities and parallelly educating herself and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's so much to learn from her. But before we go into questions, my first thing is Women's Day. What relevance does it hold for you, Smita?
First off, welcome to the audience. Really, really grateful to be here, Kiran. Thank you for having me. And congratulations to you on starting such a platform, right? Where different diverse participants can come and talk on a common topic. So on that note, and on this special day, happy International Women's Day to everybody who's on the call. I'm seeing 75 and growing. Um, this particular day is highly relevant to me for many reasons. One is my own personal role models have been women, beginning with my grandmother. For from my early childhood days to my mom, who's the one who is the source of me developing a deep interest and passion for hospitality and food and beverage. I think between my grandmother and me, they believed that community is built around food. Family engages around food. And to me, those two takeaways are what I hold in my heart to this day, irrespective of the millions of meals we serve in any given day. So to have me on this special day, thank you, Kiran. And what it means to me is um, personally, the two women who have been very close to my heart. And beyond that, along the journey, I have had some really intentional, powerful leaders, farmers. I get inspired by an organic farmer by the roadside. In fact, my last visit to India, I stopped by between somewhere in the Sangareddy district, and she said, "Oh, idanta emi fertilizer veikundega ammenamma," and she was trying to sell a guava. I was like, oh, you know what organic means. But, in her own way, she was able to communicate. And to me, that is inspiring. To me, the little things that women, men, or, everybody share are important. And I am here to cherish that, get inspired and inspire, hopefully, through my journey. So on that note, I'll turn it back to you, Kiran.
Okay, great. Okay, tell us a little bit about. I would friends would like to know. While I know a lot more, you know, From hotel management to what all, how did this happen? You could tell us a little more. To five-star hotels, to uh, quickly a short brief on that journey, and then I have some specific questions on the food before we come to food.
Sounds good. What it is, you're dating me now, 92. So however many decades that is, I stuck to the field. So I have been in the hotel. What I call it hospitality now, because the idea of food and beverage, the idea of community building, the idea of connecting farm to agriculture to food systems has been something that I stayed with. So my journey, I graduated from hotel management in Hyderabad. That's where both of us were classmates. And, in fact,
And
you would,
the secret is she helped me pass a lot of exams.
oh, um, so from hotel management, I think in India, it is taught more as a vocational study, right? It's not taught so much as a technical study. So any aspect of the 3 years of hotel management, you're expected to apply in real time. And for me, the first real time application happened during my internship. I still remember the first conversation I had with my training manager, Mr. Amar Rao, at the Krishna Oberoi. And he literally stood in front of me and would say, I don't think hospitality is your cup of tea. And essentially, what he was saying to me, the 18, 19-year-old Smitha, was it's going to be long, hard, physically enduring field that you're choosing. Are you ready for it? I don't think I recognized or appreciated that piece of advice, but it is true even today, irrespective of what leadership position I hold. I am a true believer that I need to know what happens on the ground, where rubber meets the road. Do I have a sense of my team, of the food, of the taste? Um, so that's one piece. So my journey was that internship coupled with the training that I received from IHM. From there on, I worked at hotels, relocated within the country, and then relocated to the US. My entry into the US, I expanded restaurants for a senior of ours from hotel management. And then with his inputs, actually, I started my own small business. In fact, it was a ghost kitchen. And in fact, that ghost kitchen was started in a church kitchen.
Church kitchen. Now, what is that?
So in the US, every church, just like our temples, right? A temple or a synagogue, or it could be a place of
Gurudwara. Okay.
Gurdwara, right? Has a langar, has a kitchen, your temple food is cooked. Similarly, a church has a kitchen associated. Some churches, because of being massive in scale, are approved, meaning you're licensed, right? You're licensed. And some, if it is small, it'll be like a extension of a home kitchen per se. So I actually ended up leasing few days a month from a church kitchen, because I didn't have the investment. Both my husband and I had just immigrated. I didn't have the investment to start my own infrastructure. So ghost kitchen to me in early 2000s was a church kitchen. So if you're in a small shack somewhere, trust me, it will work out, as long as you know your story and are able to sell that and expand. So from there on, I got to open my own restaurant. It was a restaurant focused on healthful food prepared with local ingredients that were available in Deep South in the US. This is Alabama. And in fact, what I am most proud of is having a clear, smart goal. My clear, smart goal was, at the fastest timeline, I want to achieve break even, operational break even, right? And what that meant was, we gave ourselves, in an industry that had a failure rate of 90%, we said 6 months, 6 to 12 months is the timeline I'm going to give myself, within which I'm going to recoup my um, investment towards the business. And from there on, it is my goal that the operating revenue runs my restaurant. And I had started my restaurant in August, and January 5th was my birthday, and we celebrated that break even point. So
Wow.
the reason I share that is, as an entrepreneur, it's very easy to get attracted to new trends, to increase or expand scope. But that focus is extremely important. Set a clear, smart goal, clear timeline, and clear budget. But again, from there on, we moved to California, and I had joined a professional services firm for whom I started a new um, business group called the LifeWorks Restaurant Group. And the philosophy there was, how might we think about hospitality and food and beverage in Fortune 500 companies so that food could support attracting, retaining talent, right? So that was my transition to California. And with LifeWorks, I was on the founding team as well as team that expanded from zero to $150 million. And I was pretty much involved in every RFP, which is, in technical terms, RFP is a request for proposal, and the whole business development aspect. But my subject matter expertise was operations.
Smita, you could be a little louder.
Louder? Okay, I will. I will.
And also, friends who are watching us here from our community, if you think the subject is going to interest your friends or family or groups, please free to share it on the Facebook on your page. It's also beaming live parallelly on Facebook on my page. So go ahead and do that. Sorry for the interruption. Continue. We would like to hear. We want to make sure that we get your message loud and clear to everybody.
Thank you, Kira. So going back, it was a LifeWorks expansion, right, from zero to 150, with a focus on set target clientele who believed in a strong workplace culture. And a strong workplace culture, we believed, could be facilitated through a good hospitality, food, and beverage program. So in with LifeWorks, why had, I think, the best of the clients for Aramark. Talk about the best in tech, I had Google in my portfolio. Talk about the best in entertainment, I had Walt Disney, their headquarters, not the studios, the headquarters. So the CEO, Bob Iger, sat there, and it is like studios after studios after studios. And then I had Nike as well. They're headquartered in Oregon, in the state of Oregon, and there's about, the campus is quite large, which with about 11,000 employees, Nike employees, and Nike is best known for being a retail, or the largest retail company in the world is Nike. So it gives you a sense of how I move. Like the hospitality, food and beverage was at the heart of it, but how I applied was different. As a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a restaurateur, as a ghost kitchen operator in my own world, right, from a church
So
kitchen.
finally, you're saying it's just like where you went finally to Nike before you came to Princeton. Just do it.
Kind of, yeah, exactly. Just do it. And here I am in higher education, engaging with brilliant minds every day, day in and day out.
Okay. I remember in our earlier conversation when other day you're talking about somebody like Walt Disney, the most creative people in the world, and you're saying their headquarters has more security or as much security as a NATO headquarters. You know, what do you do to thrill people like that who are already creative? What creativity in food can you bring for those kind of people?
Yeah, absolutely. So Disney has, you should all, I would highly recommend you to go to disney.com, their main webpage. They have, I think, 57 business units. And amongst all of those business units, at that point when I had them in my portfolio, there is a department called um, that's based on their engineering, right? Innovation and engineering. And it is called Imagineering. So imagination plus engineering coupled together, and the word is Imagineering. And probably about 100, 150 tech-based graphic designers, creative artists who sit in Imagineering department. And the first time I went in, every company that I had within my portfolio, I would have a badge. That particular department needed 3 levels of additional security. And it reminded me of an experience when I had traveled for work to Brussels. And Brussels is where NATO is, this is the North American Treaty Organization, is headquartered. So it's like a army base or a defense base, and you got to go through, show your passport 10 times, show your approval another 20 times, and you go through gated supervision. And to me, it felt like, oh my God, walking into Imagineering is more difficult than walking into NATO headquarters. And the reason there I shared that was the subcultures, right? The idea of understanding what are the subcultures within an organization. And even as an entrepreneur, sometimes even within your own organization, there could be subcultures. And as a leader, it is not enough if you're just leading in a linear way. Your chefs need a certain style of leadership, whereas your frontline managers and team members would, right? So to me, the biggest takeaway was understand the culture of an organization at its highest level, but also be attentive to the subcultures. And Imagineering was one of that subculture that I always paid very, very, very close attention to. And for us, it was like, oh, okay, they're coming up with a movie, let's say Tron. At that point, they were about to launch Tron. You're not supposed to, Troy, sorry, yeah, Tron. You're not supposed to talk about it, right? There's confidentiality documents and such. But once they go live on their websites and media channels, then we can talk a little bit about it. But the advantage we have as insiders is we have an idea of what colors, what themes, what is the narrative, what is the hero or the lead actor or actress or animation, animated characters are playing. And is there any inspiration that can be drawn to the food program? Or there may be nothing about food at all, but is there any connectivity, right? If it's the Jungle Book, maybe have an Indian meal on a banana leaf. I'm just giving an example, but that's not what we did. I think paying that close attention to what may not be clearly visible, but then try to connect the dots and then weave that in was definitely helpful to us. At that point, some of the things that were really popular that they loved were during the summer months. Los Angeles is, summers can be brutal. So we thought about these shrimp rolls in the paper, the non-fried, steamed spring rolls, right? Those type of things. Fresh fruit smoothies and such. More I can go into details from many standpoint, but I'll stop there. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's come back to Princeton. In fact, I think I keep telling all our community that it is not enough to be just focusing on one aspect of retail and have different streams of income, either small or large, in terms of, or start developing in terms of catering to small gatherings to start with, which eventually leads to large gatherings if you're doing well. Okay. Now you've been handling large catering events, about 20,000 people a day, I think, in Princeton. Okay. What are the major challenges you face when you look at that kind of a scale?
Yeah. To me, it's about 3 key things. One is communication. As a leader, it's not enough if you know your vision by heart. It is important that the last person on your team is able to articulate in their own language, right? Whether they're Haitian or Indian or irrespective of their national origin, to be able to connect to that vision and share that, I think is key. So it comes back to communication, 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 and in all directions, upwards, laterally, and downwards. I have found that um, it could be personal style, that you lean towards your comfort zone. And your comfort zone could be just communicating upwards, perhaps, right? A chef communicating to an executive chef, or an executive chef communicating to the founder, or laterally, a chef communicating to an F&B manager, or downwards. I can talk very confidently with my team, like make this mother sauce or make this paneer tikka, but the other two channels are left out. So one part of leading large teams, to me, I have found, is communication, communication, communication. The second piece is um, consistency, right? Consistency in a way that can be lived by many people. If you look at a bell curve, there is leave about the first 5 to 10%, leave about the last 10%. But if it's like a bell curve and you're able to achieve that 60% level of consistency in whatever values you have set, that is important, right? So consistency, I'm not talking about a recipe. It's about behaviors. It's about values. It's about how it is how a particular process is shared. And a classic example is, it could be how your meals are being packed. Nothing to do about food, but it's getting transported, thinking through this details, and then consistently having 60% of your team deliver to that.
Okay.
Success, right? So consistency is not just a recipe. We, in the culinary field, we tend to focus on just the recipe piece, but I think across the board, 360 degree. And the third piece is show up as a leader. You cannot delegate, right? As a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, I think the biggest part where the team is inspired is when they see, when they see themselves as being part of the team, not so much talked to, but then worked with and for. So that with and for is something I personally try to live by. So I work with my team and for my team. It doesn't matter
Nice.
that I sit on the upper echelon. Only if there is some policy level, I need to go there, but otherwise it's a completely flipped model. So for me, it's about with and for. So communicate.
That's a great message here, friends. To I think, is that one of the secrets of ability to handle 400 food professionals?
I would like to believe so. The team in surveys have, or even when the team comes up, I think what they value most is when they're able to see themselves as builders, creators, right? If you think about Maslow's hierarchy, your this ability of bringing them into a shared vision broadens their horizon. So I would like to think that when they see a founder, a manager, irrespective of where you are within that line of command, working with and for.
Okay, with them is a secret. Okay, now quickly, couple of questions before we open to the audience. Okay, when you're cooking for so many people, how do you handle wastage? What do you do?
Yeah. So I serve on multiple panels and, in fact, on a global scale, both for parts of United Nations and some food systems work that I do globally. So let me talk a little bit about the global and then come to the university level. So globally, there's about 7.2 billion people today, right? And about 800 million or so are obese, and about 1.2 billion people are obese or on the higher end, and about 800 million people are starving. And yet, at that same time, 40% of food that is produced globally is wasted. So food
Wow,
waste,
that's a big number.
it is a massive number. It equates to trillions of tons of greenhouse gas emissions, and it's one of the leading indicators, right, for climate change. If we as food industry people think we are not contributing to to climate change, or we are not solution providers to
The
climate
climate
change,
change.
yeah, I would pause and say, know your numbers, or just expose yourself enough so you're familiar about it. So globally, that is the scale we are talking about, 40%, right? You're talking about mango groves in Peru that are just destructed because of lack of transportation, or because of that last minute, last mile distribution that gets compromised, or food safety reasons. What is visible though is in hotels and restaurants, the food waste that comes up. So what we will have the global conversation for another time, but today let me focus on universities and, well, any campus, right? It doesn't need to be university. It can be a Google campus or any of the workplace campuses. It could be schools as well. Um, I'll try to break it down into threes. The first part is procedurally, does your team get it, right? It could be portion control. It could be you're writing recipes at a certain food cost, but the food cost is out the door and your portion is double the size. Right there, you're probably missing out a little bit, right? And every ounce matters. Every ounce matters. So that's one thing we pay close attention to. Are our recipes written in a way that support for lesser food waste? And the way we do it at scale is just in time cooking. So if we're thinking about 20,000 or 60,000 or whatever the number is, the idea is that the recipes are written one portion and 12 portion and 24 portions. So at peak time, right, at 15-minute interval, we have a sense of how many guests we will have.
Wow.
Peak time, the person who is preparing, let's say Szechuan green beans, right, is thinking about in that scale of 0, 12, 24. Do I need to portion out enough green beans for 24 portions or 12 portions? So at the beginning of the lunch hour or dinner hour, the cook starts off with a 12 portion, increases it to 24 portion, and then decreases it to 12 again. That's one tactical example I'm giving.
One step. Okay.
Just in time, right? Cooking.
Okay.
The second piece is educating your clientele, right? Educating your clientele about food waste, right? The bigger picture, as well as how they can contribute. Be calm. We will cook more if you like something. Just don't overload yourself, right? Couple of things. It helps them with themselves leading a healthy life. It helps mitigate wastage. And then overall, it's, of course, supports bottom
Yeah,
line.
basically, people who are getting into the catering or running catering, team, and I think this thing is something that you should keep in mind. Even in India, there's people don't, at least in the social gatherings, are expecting service.
Yeah.
And because there's manpower, and they expect it. Yes sir, no sir, three bags full sir, and so we have team that actually serves people. Okay, so what we do is train them to make sure that you try to give them a little. If they really want, then give them a little more if they ask, because most often we see people when we leave it to them. Also, it's a challenge because apart they fill up their plate. Okay, thinking that why do I even have to travel back to the buffet counter again and then waste the food.
Yeah.
Once it's on the plate, it's completely gone. If it's still left on the counter, there is something that can be done about it. Recycled, reused, or whatever. There are possibilities. So yeah, go ahead. That's the second thing that you said. Educating. Yeah.
Yeah. And the third piece is ability to divert, right? Every ounce of food. So we try to break it down into two parts there. One is try to divert every ounce of organic waste from going to the landfill.
To the,
To the landfill?
okay. Okay.
What does this mean? If it is banana peel, it does not need to go to the landfill, because landfill generates methane. Methane is 30 times more caustic than carbon dioxide, right? So try to divert it into a composting or regenerative system. So divert every ounce of organic waste from going into landfill is one step. The second piece is divert every ounce of safe, consumable food to a food hall, food shelter, soup kitchen, right? Okay. There are many opportunities for that. But I place a specific emphasis on every ounce of safe, consumable food. So what does that mean? As operators, we ought to ensure that the cold chain or the hot chain is not broken. That is the trust the consumer places on us. And that could become your value statement, your purpose statement, right? Every ounce of safe consumable waste is diverted to someone in need of food.
Okay.
But yeah,
okay.
So I'll start there.
Okay. Now, see, for a university, the resources are quite big, and universities top Ivy League schools, and customer delight is customer, we call them, or guests we call them here actually in the business, and their delight is at the top of our priority list. And but when the resources are limited and the bottom line is of importance, yes, how do you tackle the dilemma of making sure both happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it is either or.
It's not this or that, it is this and that.
It is yes and. So in improv, right, when they do plays, they say it is yes and. It is not if then. So there is no if then in hospitality, right? The customer delight, whoever it can be a patient in a hospital, it could be a kindergartner in a childcare, it could be a guest at a 5-star restaurant. I think it's applied differently in different scenarios. But I don't think it is one needs to be compromised to achieve the other. And in most cases, agreed, resources can get you places. But in most cases, as entrepreneurs, we are always challenged to be thoughtful. So I would say at least these 3 steps: just-in-time preparation, educating your guests, and then diverting food. I hope you're all doing it by design, and these do not require resources outside of what you ideally should be doing. Safe food for everybody who comes to your businesses.
Okay, let me now quickly jump to something that all our members are focusing on, which is the cloud kitchens. I think whatever starts in US over a period of time gets started here. We learn slowly, but we pick it up fast and then move forward faster in India. So, we've seen DoorDash doing extremely well in US. What trends do you see in cloud kitchens in US today that might be seen here later?
Yeah. I think the last 12 months has been a reckoning for food and beverage industry in the US. Globally, it is true as well, but in the US, more so, all the more so. I don't know global numbers to talk, but in the US, what we are seeing is about an 80% decline in the top line revenue at the industry level. And here you're talking in multiple billions of dollars. That is just shaved off. And we suspect that by the time the market recoups, it cannot recoup to where we were at the end of 2019. So the need for re-engineering or the need for rethinking how then might food and beverage support communities and staff was evident, and a couple of things happened. I think many Michelin restaurants, top-rated restaurants, have closed. I think it is upwards of 60%, the last I looked at it. Um, many small business, especially immigrant communities, have been hurt. What we have seen thrive in the middle of the pandemic is businesses that were able to ensure safety and consistency. In Germany, they had record sales at their McDonald's with the line which went out 5 kilometers. That their
Wow.
CEO literally flew down to see what's happening in Germany, because it's not like it would be the run of the mill menu. But they saw significant spikes. Why? Because they had the trust in their consumer across the world on one thing, that every ounce of food is a safe ounce of food when you get it from McDonald's. Broadly, again, yeah, they had their own share of issues, but broadly they're known for it. So, go, so again, that
Business shifting to the delivery model, because the companies like DoorDash have
yeah.
built their business
So
300% and multiplied their profits multifold
exactly,
over the
yeah.
last 1 year.
Yeah. So what has happened is you have seen the industry flip, right? So it's flipped from what used to be an outside experience to an indoor experience, where the consumer wanted the experience transported to their dinner table with their family. And there came in the need for ghost kitchens or test kitchens, or right, in different geographies they call it different things. The idea of ghost kitchen, I think, started off many years back. Companies like Seamless Web, Eat, there is a company called Eat in out of California. They have been existing, right, here and there, but they kind of ramped up during the past. I think the pandemic produced a steep opportunity, and across the globe it is true, and India definitely with the scale that we.
Absolutely. So in the delivery itself, anything particular that you see that is a takeaway for us here in India?
uh, I would I would go back to food safety, and I would say make it visible, meaning that if you're adhering to it, make it visible, make it part of your narrative when your consumer receives that package of food, right? Because a lot of us in hospitality industry take it for granted and we don't talk about it. How many of them know that safe food is, it needs to be heated to 165 degrees? It could be a simple takeaway, but engage your consumers and definitely daylight your safe food practices. And this goes all the way to training. If you're engaging with specific trainings, whether it's serve safe or local trainings, you should talk about that, because that is another investment that an entrepreneur would be making. The second piece I would say is, this is in the US context, what I have seen is automation in delivery, particularly that last inch delivery, right? We have seen much automation come about. But in the Indian context, what I will say is, um, for cloud kitchens and delivery model, think about your digital marketing strategy with intention. A ghost kitchen by design does not have a front facing space,
Yeah.
or not everybody has it. So be thinking about what is digital marketing strategy that you have, be intentional. And within that, there are many platforms, whether it is search engine marketing or social or display or mobile or video. Don't thin yourself down with going all the ways. Make an identity for yourself in one or two of these channels. You might be served better. These are few key takeaways that I hope are relevant for India
Yeah,
context.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think a lot of our students are focusing on the digital side. That right now offline marketing is off actually. More or less, and the investment in that is not going there. Newspapers are vanishing. People are spending more times on their handheld devices, and that's where people are more. You have the eyeballs to catch, and So that's good, Smita. Okay, now let me just quickly. I have a friend's a video to share, and before that, I have a picture to share and ask her some question on this. Let me just give me a minute. Let me. Okay. Okay, give me a minute. I have some picture that I thought I will uh, share with you guys, and okay. Okay, Smita. Now you get an opportunity in life to interact with somebody like Dalai Lama and many world leaders. You know, okay. So I remember saying this some time ago, and so what was the experience like with Dalai Lama of the subject? But definitely would like to know
Oh,
the
amazing.
happiness coach of the world, I would say, or tries to be.
Amazing experience. So we were at a lunch that particular day. You're seeing me with His Holiness Dalai Lama at Prospect House, which is like a venue where we host dignitaries on campus at Princeton University. And we were just heading into a lunch. And at that lunch, we had just 24 seats, right, in a rectangle. And His Holiness was sitting with his two disciples at the head of the table, and the rest of us were in that conversation. And naive me, I had instructed the entire team, make sure it's vegan, make sure it's vegan, everything has to be perfect. And the moment the plate was served, he puts his hands and says, Smita, where is my beef? So it was a big reminder that
So you associated His Holiness with
vegetarian,
vegetarianism or
my
even
bad.
veganism all the way.
I said, you know what, His Holiness, my bad, plate right for you. So but then we ended up having a fun meal. But as a human being, he's just humorous. He uses humor as a way to just bring people, bring communities together. That is the second takeaway. Like, I have always known as dasajis and someone being spiritual,
Okay.
of being a little bit more grounded and not using humor as an element. But
Okay.
it was fun interacting with him. We made mandalas and yeah,
Great.
many
I think our
many.
friends have started writing some questions.
Yeah.
Before their questions, and I think I'll just quickly share one video, friends. After that, it's all your time to ask her the questions that you want. Let me play this video, a short video of 3-4 minutes. Maybe I'll play about 3 minutes of that, and then
In my experience, a healthy meal is something that is vibrant, colorful, has lots of plants and legumes and beans and grains, and that when you eat, you feel nourished and ready to go to take on whatever the next goal is in your own life. American menus are written with an emphasis on center of the plate being an animal protein. Plant forward is a way to enjoy the vibrancy of what a plate of food can bring to you, but also make small shifts in the way you think about enjoying a meal. Yesterday, I was at Butler Wilson, and Chef Brad and Chef Dan had this beautiful breakfast bar in which they had fresh charcuterie, they had fresh cheeses, they had cut fruit, promoting not only a plant-forward menu, but also a menu that is most enjoyed by our students from Europe, because that's the way Europeans have had breakfast. Another location at Rocky Mathy, we had a kanji bar. So this is a traditional rice porridge that's had in Southeast Asian countries for breakfast, and it's topped off with sesame oil and some nuts and scallions and white flaky fish. Global menus are written with diverse ingredients on a single plate, and texture and taste and color. It's just not focused on that 10-ounce or 8-ounce piece of protein. Food is all pervasive in the way we nourish our students and engage our community. And we believe that in a living, learning community where we educate and inform a disproportionate amount of world leaders and thought leaders, we ought to take care of their own individual health and also expose them to some of the global challenges. And food right now is a global challenge.
Food is the basis of our survival as people. Everyone has to eat something, and it's the basis of community. Communities sort of form around the common interests of being able to sustain that community through food.
So I come from Tokyo, Japan, and I grew up eating a lot of rice. And growing up, my parents told me to eat every single piece of rice on the plate because they told me that there lived a God in each grain of rice. But coming over here to study, I was shocked by how many people had food left over on their plates. They just dumped everything into the trash. And that really started to get me interested in sustainability in food, especially at Princeton.
The greatest change I would want to see is probably a focus on better nutrition in food, like less sugar, less processed foods, more minimally processed foods from local sources, in order to promote health and make people more aware of what they're putting in their bodies.
If I had one request to the students here at Princeton, I would say build a personal relationship with your food. Participate in the journey that we are in a way that we can make collective impact to a challenge that is global.
So we're back here, and now let's jump into questions. I think people have been waiting for some time, and we've been speaking a lot. So let us take. Okay, I'll take the relevant questions, please. Bear with me. Okay, Govind is asking a specific question. Can you quote an example how you drew inspiration from a subtle, not so obvious clues from Imagineering by movies?
Yeah. Certainly, Govind. Again, welcome to the show. What creative artists do is they start with sketches, right? And these sketches are usually posted, and you tend to see parts of the formulation of it, whether it is costumes, whether it is a dining table and how they set it up, right? Is it ostentatious or is it something simple? Is it bohemian or is it more traditional? So I think each of those sketches something I go to bed with, and I usually before I go to bed, I think through what my day was for a quick 3 to 5 minute scan. And something from those images I would hold and kind of make myself a little post-it note. And 3 to 4 weeks into such observation, I more often than not would find some connectivity to food, right? It could be where the lead character is from, right? The country they're from. Right? If they're from Hawaii, then what is the cuisine of Hawaii? Can we think about presentation of a pina colada without the alcohol, or maybe with alcohol if it's after 5 p.m. in the way they traditionally do it? Or can we bring snow cones that like the way they do it in Hawaii? So I think it was picking up on those little cues and making a series of post-it notes. And then once you're at the drawing board for the food program itself, pulling from those ideas. Geography is a powerful leading indicator. And then based on geography, the food cultures of those. And one of my personal passions is wherever I travel in the world, I first look up the local food market. And a cheat sheet there is my personal food market in the world that I love is La Bocaria in Barcelona. It's the oldest European food market. And every time I go, I come back with,
Okay, friends, so make that on your list,
yeah,
bucket list.
definitely. And if you're coming, let me know. I might just join you. So,
Okay, great. Okay, so one lesson to take away here for all you friends is that, from what you said regarding the Disney, observe closely your customer, and what are the reactions, what are their expectations. For example, somebody who's in Goa, Sneha, or, if you have a season where I think in a year's time or a 6 months time, travel with the vaccines are going to open up, some season, if the Germans are traveling a lot, and then is it an opportunity for you to make some menu that they like, or locally during festival times that we try out that local, that festive meals. How do you innovate based on what your customer or your guest, what we call, is looking at. Don't take your eye off that at any point of time. And I think that's one key lesson. If you keep that and see how you can incorporate that idea into what you are creating for them, I think there was so much more chance for success. Just correlating it to our friend's question here. Okay, Gaurav is asking, he has a food company in Kolkata, Gaurav Baheti. He says, how important is something like certification, ISO certification, from Indian corporate understanding? I think I'll answer this question, Gaurav. Definitely important, because that will hold you in a good esteem in their eyes. But more importantly, when you go through that process, it will also make you see the gaps in your own system. Okay, what they perceive you is secondary, but firstly, the process will help you systematize a lot of things in your own system, and all your team will get aligned ki acha theek hai, ye sab documentation ho raha hai, and there'll be this frequency of audits. It takes some time to form a habit, and then if it becomes an habit, it holds good there. And definitely corporates will look at you more positively for their catering requirements. Okay, how do you approach corporates in India at the level of hierarchy? There is a system. It is almost impossible without a reference. Okay, I think these are questions that Gaurav, Smita might find it difficult to answer. We'll take it up in our Q&A. So I will take questions. I think we'll take questions that Smita would be able to help us more with today that she's here, and we have a limited time with her. I applaud the Justin Hari Krishna says, I applaud the just-in-time food idea. How do you manage veg and fruit cut residual waste?
yeah, I think that was, it's one part of re-engineering and menu engineering, right? Usually you have your menu matrix by day part. A menu matrix, for those of you who are new, is like an Excel spreadsheet pretty much. And day part is the part of the day. Like, अगर breakfast का खाना हो या lunch का menu हो या dinner का menu हो, and by day of the week, like, a Sunday, the mindset of the local context is important, but essentially your menu matrix is a spreadsheet written by day part.
No, I think the specific question is fruit and vegetables. When you cut, there is some wastage.
So yeah, I'm getting to that. So the idea is that in the way you write your menu matrix, you're able to incorporate raw ingredients into the next menu. So
Achha.
that breakfast ka cut fruit bach gaya. So are there opportunities? Example, I'll give you. In the video that you saw, there was cut pineapple in bigger chunks. And at lunch, if there is a fried rice, you're writing it in a way that it could be transformed into a Thai fried rice or a pineapple ham Thai fried rice. All you have to do is cut that bigger chunk of pineapple, which was appropriate for breakfast, into fours and make it into a lunch appropriate ingredient for fried rice. That's an example of fruit, but you can kind of extrapolate from that and build it into your own thinking. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for the question.
Great. That's a great question. How do you ensure meat is sourced ethically and there is minimal wastage?
Yeah. So I would extend that question. So yeah, if you can.
Anonymous attendee. Okay.
Anonymous. Okay. All right. So I broadly and globally, any ingredient, integrity and authenticity is being challenged these days, not just for meat. Meat all the more so, but you're better off, you're better served, because I'm seeing a lot of questions on vegan, vegetarian, plant-based. You're better served when you're able to trace and maintain transparency in your tracing process from farm to fork. So what does that mean?
Farm to the table.
I, yeah. So I know, as an example, we have, by season, we have about 6 to 8 species of seafood. But in most cases, I know which dock they were docked at, which boat harvested them, how was it transported from dock to our kitchens, and
Okay.
and how is it being menued into our recipe. And we actually take our students, in our case, they're our guests, we take them for road trips, or, well, what I call as dock to door trips, right? And have them meet the fishermen, take them to the processing plant, and then bring them back. And then they're surprised, right? In their eye, it opens up that, oh, I can trust this because I have seen it, I have been there. And seafood is a simple example. You can, again, extrapolate that into chicken and beef and shrimp, and I
So
would.
that's a fantastic point, Smita, that you made. I think in India it is still not that easy for all products, to be able to know exactly, when it was harvested and which port it landed and from how was it transported, and maybe there I think everything is systematized to the extent of batches, so you exactly know which vendor is bringing, and all
I,
this data is available. Maybe that's the way India also will grow eventually. Uh,
yeah, I would challenge that thought. I would challenge that thought. In any food and beverage operation, we source, uh, right, anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 SKUs, right? Specific ingredients, right? It could be your tomato. Do you know your tomato farmer? Do you know where it is being sourced from? Not that middle purchase, middleman who brings it to you in the auto rickshaw. I think there is opportunity in India, and I believe that it is much higher here.
No, I think when the scale becomes larger, it becomes easier. But when the scale is smaller, it's a little more of a challenge because you really don't have access to the farming community. But yes, people who have grown in scale, or at least for the key ingredients which become a part of their menu, have been able to go right back there to that point and make sure that those come from a standardized source, or a trustable source. To that extent it's possible, yes. Okay. No, Shankar runs about 3-4 outlets in Mumbai, to give you a brief, and he has a fantastic brand called Idlish. And today I think he made the most out of the Women's Day, hosting about 10-15 women for lunch, who are all our members. It's nice to see that picture. I think, I don't know, Shankar, if you posted it on Facebook, but otherwise we would all love to see that. I think others would love to see that. Let me come to his question. So I think Americans, through their fast food outlets, and Chinese through their cuisine, have positioned themselves as most commonly accepted by exported food outside their countries. Indian food, mostly Punjabi cuisine, has had limited success. What do you believe is holding Indian food go global and compete with, say, Chinese cuisine? Apart from Punjabi, which other cuisines of India has the potential to go global?
Yeah. Great question, and that was Shankar,
Shankar,
right? Shankar from Bombay, from Mumbai.
Mumbai.
Yeah, Mumbai, from Mumbai. Yeah.
I was corrected. The first time I said Pune, I was strictly warned that, unless you pronounce it right as Pune, don't. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Shankar, kudos to you for hosting the women and building a community. Um, what I would say is, any cuisine, it takes a while to expand and grow in scale. I'm seeing two plays happening here. One is on a global scale. There is an increase in the desire for more sustainable foods, and by design, Indian food, I believe, a good portion of Indian menus are do support that sustainable plant-based model, right? So how do you ride the wave is English, and each think about it. How do I ride the wave? It exists, right? And there are many success stories by entrepreneurs here locally in India, by entrepreneurs in Africa, in the Americas, in Canada, who have started Indian food companies and have not focused on the Punjabi cuisine.
So examples, please. Some examples.
Yeah.
What are the cuisines? That's
So
his question.
coconut, so lemon rice, cabbage toran, sambar, right? Your palak dal are becoming more colloquial these days. Yes, the chicken tikka is really popular, but you will see a substrata growing, right, from underneath. The hope is that it will disrupt in the near future.
The word
But
that you used, sorry to interrupt you, the word that you used, sambar, I will share with you maybe post the interview. Shankar had posted a large article on how healthy a sambar is and what all the ingredient it holds, and how it could really be something that be should be had frequently for better health. Anyway,
yeah,
you continue.
yeah, I would love to read that, Shankar. You should send that, forward it to me. I would love to read it too. But so the first piece is, when we think about food systems, what role I personally see a good role that Indian cuisine can play, right? Drawing upon our own culture. The second piece is ingredient familiarity and presenting the menu in a format that is readily accepted, right? And I'll give an example here. Taco is traditionally a taco is served in the Mexican cuisine, right? Or a Latin American cuisine. Think about the 21 Latin American countries. And a taco is a flat bread with any meat stuffing and toppings. Anytime we have used taco as a way to extend an Indian cuisine, we have found the rate of guest participation grows by double digits. So sometimes it's how we promote, right? Is authenticity to a point where I need to be 100% authentic and it fails to adapt or meet the consumer's context? Or is authenticity in right in the way I'm presenting, but still meet somewhere in the middle ground, right? So that's something you have to be comfortable with. But I personally, like, if you're able to keep ingredient authenticity, techniques authenticity, if it's a matter of presentation, then a vada pav is perfectly fine, right? Or your masala dosa is perfectly fine, and I would promote that.
Okay. I think Gaurav, again, the work from home. Okay, now work from home model is increasing in US also, and I think tech companies have figured out that there's a lot of cost cutting they can do. No real estate cost, no AC cost, no food cost, no day through coffee cost, and in India maybe the transit, the logistics cost. So people are going to be working from home. So how do you foresee corporate catering in US happening? You know, my quick thing before she takes over for the US thing is that okay, there are the tech companies. Yes, I think they have figured a way out. They will figure a way out. Security was the only concern why they wanted people to work from offices. Now I think the COVID has taught them lessons to figure out how to handle it. So I don't think anytime soon they are going to call people back to the offices, because they're going to extract. They're right now able to get more work done from homes, and some people are liking it too. Uh, while some are happy, some might not be, but nevertheless, That's not going to happen anytime soon. How do you foresee in around the world and in US right now? But some industries there is no choice, but you have to be there present. If it is so, those businesses I don't think will be able to stop. But yes, automation and anyway, we'll come to that subject separately again. So, your thoughts on this question, Smita?
Yeah. As someone who has keenly researched this field for over a decade, um, the DNA, right, of why corporate food exists even is not for the food itself. It is irrespective of the sector you are in, meaning technology, finance, entertainment, retail. It was the belief of these organizations that our organization is able to thrive when there is sufficient amount of ideation, because appropriate, adequate amount of ideation generates the necessary innovation. So the magic bullet here is the power of food to build communities for ideation, to build communities to support fuel innovation. The cost of food is peripheral. I will pause and repeat this. Food culture in corporations didn't come about for the sake of food, at least the new generation. We are not talking the manufacturing, right? The manufacturing economy was up to the 80s into the 90s and started tapering down. That is the economy where जब लोग आते थे कैंटीन को और सुबह समोसा था, आफ्टरनून को कुछ और था, your पीली दाल, चावल, रोटी, रायता और एक सब्जी था, and then your dinner. That's a manufacturing sector style of thinking about food. It was a cost to a means. But from 2000 or 1919 to that beginning of the century, innovative companies thought about community building for much different reasons. So as much as as an individual might think, oh, a company is saving this, that, or the other, I think the core still remains. The DNA is ideation fuels innovation that keeps companies thriving.
So you see some people coming back to the offices, or at least for. Okay, good. Okay, now Salas has a specific question.
There is no beating having a cup of coffee with you in person.
Absolutely.
Goes by.
No doubt about it. Okay, I am planning a cloud kitchen with 5 to 7 types of khichidis. Wish to start small khichdi bars overseas. Maybe something like a Subway. How do you see the scope?
Khichdi
And
is
what should be the approach?
yeah. Couple of things. It's a wholesome meal had across the country, just made differently, right? A khichdi and a pongal, and you can have multiple variations. As a trend, we are seeing this on the rise across Europe and across Americas. North America, I will correct myself, not South America, but North America and Europe. In fact, actually it started off in Europe, where the popularity of khichdi had grown, and countries like Norway and Sweden, in their country level food policies, are stating and are including recipes like a khichdi. Think about it. Yeah,
Wow.
A country that is known for a chilled piece of fish and maybe some canned fruit does not talk about that much if they can prevent it from happening, right? They are beginning to talk about things like falafel and things like a hummus, things like khichdi. So stay on that. If you have to talk more, happy to talk offline, but the idea is great. There are many interwoven themes within that one single khichdi.
Okay, I think Khalid has a question regarding food that eventually without can't be reused and will go waste otherwise, gets repacked and sent to needy people. Khalid, to tell you, there are many organizations in India, in different cities. There's no nationwide large organization, to my knowledge, but city-wise, I think there are some groups that have formed who do this of collection and then giving it to the people who would be able to have it soon. And I think this is one area where I think Khalid, you brought up a good point. So in our community itself, let's ask people to I'll put up a post and ask people to suggest the organizations they know in the comment section right tomorrow, such that we all are aware of what are the organizations that are doing this work in different parts of the country. Thanks for the thing, Khalid. Something like that exists in US.
Yes, that's food recovery is a big piece of the food waste dialogue.
Okay, okay. Siraj,
And
I think.
essentially, food recovery is, again, every ounce of safe consumable food that is diverted to a food kitchen, soup kitchen.
Okay. Siraj, I think you missed the beginning part, but your question, I will let me answer a bit of it. Did you do any training and where were you trained? She started the hotel management as my classmate in Hyderabad. Then she worked with a couple of hotels here in Star Hotels, and 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 trained and worked. And not just that, I think the most important thing is she continuously learns to educate herself and hasn't stopped. As I say, three things that make what we are, environment, education, and experience. And she's gone on to Harvard to do a general administration, apart from, finishing a hotel management. And I think what else? I think you're pursuing something else also now.
I think I'm going to be a lifelong learner, right? Lifelong learner as a student. So yeah, I am continuing my education. I think it's a part of it's like that third rail, right? I have been passionate about. Not just in the hospitality field. Right now, my biggest focus is on education, particularly at the intersection of food, technology, and education. I spend a lot of my time there.
Food, technology, and education. Okay, nice, great, fantastic. How do you manage extra staff that you have numbers to cater to? How do you know what kind of staff is coming in? Okay, I think there it's more structured, Kadam, if I am not wrong, Smita. You exactly kind of know who are all coming in that day or not coming in and stuff like that. So
Yes.
it is not so much of a challenge because the information is available for you to plan. So that I think should answer that question. What are the tips for maintaining consistency in food quality? Again, anonymous attendee. I think we have answered this question in the videos in our own platform. Go back and look at it. What will be the scenario of plant-based food in the upcoming years? Ghazal has this question. Maybe you can take that.
Yeah, absolutely. I see this question came up from Abhinav as well. And you will see plant-based is growing in multiple dimensions. First, let me talk about the innovation part of it. The demand for environmentally friendly foods is growing, and that demand is spurred by Gen Z. Technically, Gen Z are anywhere from, children who do not remember the World Trade Center.
Louder, 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 please.
Gen Z is the
Gen
latest.
Z, Generation Z. Okay,
Yeah,
Generation Z. Okay.
yeah, Gen Z is right. That is the generation that is currently in college and has just started working. Amongst the top three things that are important to them is environment, climate, and sustainability.
Yes, I keep hearing that from my nieces all the time.
Right? And that translates to how they behave in their purchasing patterns, how they behave in their nutrition patterns as well. So when we think about plant-based, there are multiple innovations. On the innovation side, I will talk about Impossible Foods, that is led by a scientist, Pat Brown, And his formula is it combines multiple starch um, and ingredients from roots of legume plants to prepare a mock burgers like vegetarian patty for the American consumers. So Impossible Food is a cutting edge technology based solution that is plant based. Beyond Meat is another example. It's formulated with soy and plant-based ingredients, and it completely flips a beef burger into a plant-based burger. In the middle scale are what we are calling the blended models. So traditionally, a chicken um, kebab was made only with chicken. Can we make it with a combination of chicken and mushrooms, perhaps, right? So you're cutting plant protein by 50% and introducing vegetable there. So by therefore increasing plant consumption. And third part is innovation in terms of other ingredients. I think from a crop standpoint, globally, we use only 5 to 6% of the total amount of biodiversity that is available. So look at your own menus. Can you take the opportunity to promote biodiversity? In legumes, like instead of just the chana and rajma, can you incorporate navy beans or whatever local beans are available to you? Or legumes, right? We use tur dal, we use urad dal, we use mung dal, but usse bhi aage, or or maybe more locally, are there ingredients that you could help promote or use mainstream? So I think the opportunity is threefold. One is the current generation is demanding for a plant-based diet, plant-rich diet. The second one is there is a lot of room for innovation and expansion. There's a lot of runway. And the third piece is look beyond the popular 10, 20 SKUs. You'll be surprised there's so much in the Indian market. And being an ag-based country, there is a lot our farmers offer.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's on the rise, and some good advice. Okay, let me take this question from Sneha Bandare. In fact, Sneha Bandare is an inspiration for our community. Mother of three, and started off her cloud kitchen, converted to cafe, chai, coffee, and in Goa. And she's one person who's seen some, in fact, she's seen a 1200% growth in her business in the 6 months time, and comes up with fantastic innovation. Okay, our question, let me take it up right now. I started out the cafe, and the menu has slowly moved towards cafe food and few fine dine too. Customers are requesting me to serve alcohol, which I am not keen on. Do you think fusion food bordering on fine dine can be successful minus alcohol?
Um, my apologies, Kiran. I didn't pick up on the name when you started off with the name.
Sneha Bandari.
Sneha, hi. Wow, kudos to you. 1200% and 3 kids. I have a son of my own and he's 20 years. So, I will share an experience with you. In London, there is a quite popular department store, right? And within that department store, it's called Selfridges. You can look it up online.
What is it called?
Selfridges. I'm typing it now.
You're typing it in the chat?
Yeah. Right, Selfridge or Selfridges.
Selfridges, okay.
Yeah. So within their handbag section, they have a cocktail bar. Within that cocktail menu, 60% was just mocktails. There are a whole stream of new alcohol-free gins and vodkas that are coming up, right? Which can help you for 2 reasons. The reason I'm sharing this, your question was more about, I don't want to serve alcohol. I am challenging you to say, think about your check averages doubling up by not using alcohol, but by using these innovative solutions where there is a brand called Seedlip that produces alcohol-free gin.
We've heard of alcohol-free beer here, but alcohol-free gin and vodka?
Yeah.
Okay.
So think about you creating a cool food menu paired with equal check averages for food and beverage, which is alcohol-free. It sits well with your value system, but still allows you to grow your business. So I would challenge you to stick to your values, but also be open to innovation. There is a lot of innovation going on in alcohol-free beverages in every category.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Where did you know what? It's available in US widely. Alcohol-free gins and vodkas and all.
Not widely, but perhaps, it's these consumers, right? Any trend is never a trend by the masses. Every trend is, again, goes back to the bell curve.
Curve.
Starts off as those spurts, right, that happen globally or
Yeah. The
locally.
first few people have to tear their jeans before
Absolutely.
everybody starts tearing theirs.
Yeah. So go for it.
Okay.
Seedlip, look it up. Seedlip is the alcohol-free gin based.
Okay. Seed lip, is it? Okay. Okay. The next question is in the what's the demand? I think these are regular questions. I can take it up in our Q&A session. What's popular now, a la carte or back meal? What are people preferring there in ordering? Is it serving even the restaurant that have survived? Um, or are they looking at buffets or a la carte?
Yeah. So what we have found in the past 12 months is there's a gravitation towards comfort food, whatever that means to you, to the consumer. And what do I mean by that? अगर खिचड़ी मेरा comfort food है, then during the pandemic, we have found people gravitate to their respective comfort foods. It could be fried chicken with mac and cheese to some, blackened fish with mashed potatoes to others, or rice and beans with a piece of clean chicken. But the pandemic, with all its stresses, has led us to believe that comfort food is what I gravitate to. And the second piece is bring the experience home. That's the second piece. And the third piece is safety, safety, safety. For myself, my kids, my family, my parents, I could be a caregiver. So I think these three things have been.
Okay. I think the next question we will take, I would not have taken it, but for the fact that you're Mohit he specified he's from Dharamshala, His Highness Dalai Lama's town. Okay. Extending further, how do you can do samosa a la brand reach national level, thus go international? Samosa is already national level product. There's a brand, I'm sure you must have heard about it, Mohit. Samosa Party, and I think it is popular world over. I don't know how popular it's in US and stuffing samosas with various options. Is it happening? Is
It
it
is.
popular with the natives there and not the Indians, just Indians?
Yeah. So I would say it is popular more as a snack food, and it's showing up in menus mainstream. Today, if you go into a cheesecake factory, your cheesecake factory is, I'll be drawing wrong parlance, but think about it as give me a name here, Kebab Nation or Barbecue Nation, right? I think Barbecue Nation is a chain and it exists in all cities across India. So think about Cheesecake Factory as that. And on their menu, they have chicken samosas, right? You go to a grocery store and you would find a certain type of frozen samosa.
Okay.
Right? So I would say it's gaining popularity, and in some demographics, right? Not, and by demographics, I don't mean just because there are multiple Indians. It's like thriving, diverse demographic. You will see the rate of acceptance for Southeast Asian cuisines is growing at 300 to 400% growth rate year over year. And Indian is part of that Southeast Asian diaspora. So from that standpoint, I would say definitely acceptability rates are increasing. And second, I emphasize it's not just for the chicken tikka masala. I'm talking about broad menus, broad ingredients, and techniques.
Okay. The next question is by Raj. Now he is looking at bringing things back here, and maybe his question is, what are the global cuisines that match well with the Indian palate?
A passionate field that I study a lot, very closely. So I literally observe students and postdocs and different consumers, right? So I will, at least in my observation, I have found Latin American cuisines to parlay closely with Indian cuisine. And here's the reason why. Some of the spices and techniques that they use are, there are parallels or there are adjacencies between the two. So look at Latin American cuisine for what it is. And Latin American cuisine is not just Mexican cuisine or Guatemalan cuisine or Ecuadorian cuisine. It's a combination of 21 different countries, and each country has its own food culture. So I have found that one. The second one I have found is what we call as island countries, right? It could be Puerto Rico, it could be island or coastal countries, South Africa, Mauritius, beautiful Indian. It's not Indian, but it is like, Indian influenced cuisine types there. So any of these tropical island / coastal countries I have found that Caribbean people, South Africans, love some combination of goat curries and curry in general.
No, his question is other way around, Smita. He
Oh, okay,
wants to know
sorry.
what global cuisines will be similar to Indian palate. That is, what is that we can bring here?
Yeah, so that is why a Mexican, a Latin American,
Mexican, yes,
a
Mexican.
Caribbean or a tropical country cuisines bring here. Because
Okay.
if you're seeing it being accepted there, the flip
Can happen also.
most likely is true, because I have observed that to be true as well. And the third cuisine that I have noticed is Mediterranean cuisine. Again, we get stuck with 3 or 4 popular dishes like falafel and hummus. Go beyond the fava beans that are cooked, go into Morocco, the flavors, the spices. I truly believe that they can be transported and acceptable well in India.
Okay,
So
great.
these 3 cuisines.
Okay, I think the next question we will leave it, not take it up with Smita. Okay, Mohit, he wants to know how do we connect with our esteemed guests. If you have a query left unanswered, Mohit, let me figure this out, because while we would like your queries to be answered, we would also not like to disturb their privacy. So write to our support at kiranbeligiri.com, and we will try our best to get an answer from our guest as soon as possible. Okay. Why is kombucha becoming so popular in USA? Is it a trend due to fermentation? What's kombucha? I don't even know.
Yeah, kombucha is not new. It has been gaining popularity for the good part of this, at least from early 2000s, I would say. And
What is it?
yeah, it is a fermented tea beverage that has high level of alcohol. And when done traditionally, it has, I think, as high of alcohol percentage as beer. Right? It is being promoted from a medicinal standpoint, health benefit standpoint, as a functional food in some categories of consumers. And definitely in beverage categories, there is a desire from consumers to see the different products, right? That are not just sweetened drinks. You will see globally the rate of soda decline, right? And parallelly, you're seeing that the rate of innovation in different beverage products is increasing, and kombucha has been one of them. But it has a complementing effect or complementing factors because of its functional elements that they talk about.
Okay, great. Uh, no, I think this question again is something that I will have to take it up. Okay, last one or two questions. Junk food is gaining more demand in Indian markets. How to go about the change and trend towards the sustainability side? Ankur Agarwal. Okay, this let me be the last question. And
Yeah. Um,
junk food is gaining ground. Whatever US has done to see right now, you will be surprised to know, Smita, that people who have now Kellogg's, which tried to change the palate of the Indian market to eating cornflakes for breakfast. To some extent, they succeeded, but now they are coming up with their upmas on the menu. You know, and Domino's is trying to become a biryani joint. Okay, now so Indians are hardwired for certain things and they hold on. It's not that they don't uh, try out those things. So but yes, junk food
yeah.
is gaining more demand. I'm not too sure about this.
It is true. It is true. I think I think between Pizza Hut and Domino's, they opened 1,600 stores outside of the US in a contiguous 12-month period, while they reduced their total number of stores in the US during that same period of time.
But
So,
they're adapting. See, what they are doing in different parts of the world is that their menus, their pizzas, the grain with which they make the base, the toppings are all being adapted to the Indian palate. You have a paneer, you have a chatpata chana. The same thing is happening with Subway. So those who are able to do that, yes, but you can't really categorize them as completely junk food.
yeah, couple of things, right? I think I will go back to the to one of the statistics that I had given of the 7.2 billion people, and the first time in the history of humanity that we are seeing this level of
Sad.
overweight, right? That is led because of sugar, salt, and fat combination. And majority of these big food, big ag companies attribute to those higher caloric intake. I will say that in the past decade, there has been an influx of these companies wanting to do good by doing right, and they are supporting new products that are functional and healthful. So that's one piece. But on the other hand, I will say ghost kitchens have a huge opportunity. Be
Okay.
innovative and be entrepreneurial.
Okay. Any advice that you would give to food entrepreneurs towards being profitable and looking at you give a lot of advices, but any quick one or two tips that you would like to give them as you run your businesses individually as a restaurant and when they're just starting off, they have a lot of challenges. After this, I have one last question, but this is first question.
Okay. So I'd like to close with three key takeaways, right? First is have your story and make it compelling. Telling your story in a compelling way means that you're ensuring you're reaching your audience in a way that they would want to uh, pay for your service, right? So take time, build that story. Second one is your business model, right? Very easy for entrepreneurs to take on scope creep, but stay focused. To a business model that you have built, pay it its honor by staying focused. And the third one is think about digital marketing with intention. It's not just Instagram, it is not just, there are 5 key channels, and you need to know which channel you're going to break barriers. So I would like to leave with these 3 things: strong story, strong business model, and think about a digital marketing strategy, particularly because it's a ghost kitchen.
So friends, all the three point to pull marketing rather than push marketing. The days of hard selling is gone. You will have to create your product that's fantastic, that's packaged beautifully, and a story that really touches somebody. So they will be wanting to order your food rather than you trying to push hard with only discounts to be able to get orders. Okay, that's a big takeaway. Last question, Smita. Okay. But before that, I think, friends, all of you who are here, I think we should give a big in the chat box. Please comment and give a big thank you to Smita for her time spent here. Smita, International Women's Day rather. Okay, you've been a super success story and an inspiration to many, including me. And uh, as a woman, growing up along the way and has its own challenges in every part of the world. So, what challenges did you face, and what would you advise women entrepreneurs here? Because it's not easy in different cultures being a woman, growing up all the way.
Yeah. I will say I have had great mentors along the way. That every time I faced a challenge, I had someone I could go to. So for me, it was a couple of things. Even in India, I am petite. In an industrial kitchen, even the Krishna Oberoi kitchen, the executive chef would say, 200 pound ka dal banana hai, bana loge? Right? There is this expectation that physically you may be not as capable. So you'd have to break that barrier, right? And prove yourself. So for me, it started off with truly gaining stamina. So know that, yes, there will be challenges in any field, but for hospitality field, one needs to have the physical stamina along with mental and emotional stamina. So for me, when I started off in the kitchens, food production side, then moved to food and beverage service side. The second piece was when I moved to the US, right? To gain trust, right? That's one piece where, as an entrepreneur, it's like, oh, will you truly be able to gain that loan or secure the required permits and licenses? I think for me, a challenge there was, how do I show up with all my professional self and still connect with the local people there? It was a huge challenge, particularly in Deep South in the US. But I think over time, if you're consistent and people see you perform and be responsive, that bridge,
Slowly, it takes a
yeah,
little more time, but it'll happen.
it will happen. And my final thing is, always surround yourself with great mentors. I have had great men, great women along my journey that I still keep in touch with. As I was sharing, my first training manager is someone I still keep in touch with, Mr. Amar Rao, to this day. And it is someone who believed in you when you were still at the beginning of your own journey, has seen more of you than you might know of yourself. So I go back to my early mentors. And in fact, only last month, I called my lower kindergarten teacher,
Teacher.
teacher, LKG teacher. And I asked her, like, what did you see in me that you believed in me when I was like 3 years old? And she said, I knew it then, I know it now. So mentors around you.
So maybe it starts with the fact that when they see that you believe in yourself, it kind of transmits or gets infectious to others. I've known your mother's journey, and I've seen her and infectious enthusiasm, and anybody around her spend some time can't be left unaffected.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. My mom is like, she's like hospitality in a person.
okay,
That's who my mom
absolutely.
is. Yeah, but going back to the audience, I'm just delighted to see this level of enthusiasm and participation by food entrepreneurs in India, or maybe even outside of India if you've called on. You can certainly connect with me on LinkedIn. Any questions, please write to Kiran. I support many budding entrepreneurs across the globe, and I would be delighted to add or support in any way that I am able to with my little wisdom and knowledge. But thank you for your time. All the very best to
And
you.
Smita, thank you so much. Apart from all these friends, one aspect, this kind of an achievement or knowledge and ability to share and give doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of hard work. I think she's one person who even today, of the very few that I know, wakes up every day at 4 a.m. How many of us do consistently over a long period of time? Okay. And also spiritually inclined, has its own benefits of being in a good state to be able to take on a lot of work, but still make the best of it. And thank you all, friends, for joining us here today. And uh, some of the questions, if they left unanswered, we will try and see how best we can get back to you. And Smita, it has been indeed a pleasure talking to you, and it has been a learning for me too. Starting from kombucha that I didn't know of, and the fact that they're making that fact that they're making gins and vodkas. We have heard of beer. I think these are all the things that we're going to see here, and uh, it will be a great experience. Sneha, I think you should first try all those out and see, and make sure that you're able to build that thing. Thank you so much, and I think sometime next in your next assignment, which is coming up, I think I'll trouble you again couple of months down the line and to learn more from you. Thank you so much, and bye.
Bye bye. Have a great day, all of you. Good luck.
See you. Bye, friends. Thank you so much for joining, and good night.